The world is obsessed with results, numbers, trophies, titles, timelines. We celebrate the destination, but we forget the traveler. We post the win, but we ignore the war that forged the winner. We ask, did you make it? But rarely, who did you have to become to make it? But here's the truth that gets buried in the noise. The person you become is more important than the goals you hit, because a goal might last a moment, but who you are, that lasts a lifetime. You can cross every finish line and still feel hollow. You can hit every milestone and still be lost. You can get the house, the car, the check, the applause, and still hate the face in the mirror. Because success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. The goal is the spark, but the transformation, that's the fire. That's the deep work, the character shaping, the identity restructuring. That's what matters. You think getting rich is the win? It's not. The win is becoming the kind of person who can create wealth without losing your soul. The win is becoming someone so disciplined, so strategic, so self-respecting that money follows you, not defines you. Because anyone can chase a goal, but very few become worthy of it. And that worth it's built in the moments no one sees. It's in how you handle the delay. It's in how you respond to the silence. It's in how you show up when the progress is invisible and the doubts are loud. That's where the becoming begins. And if you skip that, you might still get the goal, but you'll be empty, unprepared, unrooted. Because what good is a dream you're not strong enough to hold? What good is an empire if the architect collapses? You don't need more goals. You need more growth. You need to fall in love with becoming, with evolving, with shedding layers that no longer serve you, with confronting the version of you that got you here and being willing to outgrow it to get to there. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not quick, but it's everything. Because the person who sets the goal is not the person who will achieve it. You have to change. You have to die to who you were so you can rise as who you must become. And that takes more than hustle. It takes honesty, radical, uncomfortable honesty. The kind that says, I'm not there yet, but I'm no longer lying to myself. That's the first shift. From chasing to choosing, from performance to alignment. Because once you decide to become that person, the one who is disciplined, the one who is resilient, the one who honors their word, the one who doesn't negotiate with weakness, then the goals, they chase you. You don't need to force results when you are aligned with the identity that produces them. You don't have to fake consistency when it's who you are. You don't need to seek motivation when you're fueled by mission. But this shift isn't given, it's earned. Earned in every early morning you wanted to sleep. Every rep you didn't want to do. Every truth you didn't want to face. Every distraction you had to cut. Every comfort you had to bury. That's the price of becoming. And once you pay it, something sacred happens. You stop being obsessed with goals. You become obsessed with growth. You start asking, who do I have to be to carry what I want? And you become that. You train it. You sculpt it. You forge it. And every day, the mirror starts to reflect a different kind of power. Not the fake kind, not the flashy kind, but the quiet kind, the grounded kind, the kind that says, I can do hard things, and I do them daily. That's what real confidence is. Not noise, not bravado, but evidence. Evidence that you've walked through the fire and didn't flinch. Evidence that you chose the hard path not once, but habitually. Evidence that your actions are aligned with your identity. Because when identity locks in, discipline becomes automatic. When identity locks in, standards rise. When identity locks in, you don't chase excellence. You exude it. So stop measuring yourself by what you've collected. Start measuring yourself by what you've constructed. Are you building character? Are you cultivating strength? Are you stacking habits that future you will thank you for? Because at the end of your life, no one will ask how fast you got there. They'll ask, who did you become along the way? BB. Because once you understand this, once it lands not just in your mind, but in your spirit, everything changes. You no longer chase goals like a desperate man in the desert. You become the well. You become the source. And suddenly, you're not addicted to the outcome. You're devoted to the process, to the rhythm, to the reps. That's the root of discipline, not willpower, not pressure identity. And identity is a choice. It's not fixed. It's not inherited. It's not written in your DNA. It's sculpted through intention. It's chosen through action. You build discipline not by getting everything right, but by doing the right thing when it's hardest to do, when it's boring, when no one sees, when your feelings are screaming for comfort, but you say, no, we don't live by feelings, we live by standards. Because feelings are fragile, but standards are steel. And discipline is the steel framework of the person you're becoming. That's what separates the successful from the spectators. Not intelligence, not talent, but a code. The successful don't rise when it's easy. They rise when they said they would. They show up because it's who they are. They don't need a reason. They are the reason. And this is where clarity becomes your compass. Because you can't build a life of discipline if you're unclear on who you're becoming. Unclear on what you stand for. Unclear on what matters most. Without clarity, you'll be consistent for a while, but not committed. You'll grind, but you won't grow. Clarity creates power. When you know who you are, decisions become simple. Not easy, but simple. Should I go out tonight or get sleep? Should I binge this series or study my craft? Should I take the shortcut or walk the path I promised myself? You already know the answer if you know who you are. If you don't, the world will answer for you. Clarity silences confusion. Clarity eliminates distraction. Clarity focuses the fire. But you won't get clarity by waiting. You won't get it by overthinking. You get clarity by moving, by doing, by failing, by listening to the internal voice that speaks only when you're quiet enough to hear it. And once you hear it, really hear it, you protect it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your clarity is your compass in chaos. When storms come, and they will, it's clarity that keeps your feet grounded. It's clarity that tells you, this is who we are, and this is what we do no matter what happens. And when clarity aligns with discipline, you become undeniable. Not perfect, but unshakable. Because your actions are no longer random. They're reinforced. They're aligned. They're driven by something deeper than ambition. They're driven by becoming. So, you wake up and you don't ask, what should I do today? You ask, who am I becoming today? You don't chase the feeling, you chase the form of your future self, the one who's already done the work, the one who looks back at today and thanks you for not quitting. You see, goals are temporary, but the man or woman you become in pursuit of them, that's permanent. That's the prize. That's the legacy. That's the real flex, not what you've gathered, but who you've forged. Because once you've forged the identity, the real weight comes in carrying the purpose. You don't just show up because you want success. You show up because you owe it to something greater. And when you find that purpose, when you choose that purpose, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop looking for ways out, and you start looking for ways through. Purpose doesn't always come with clarity at first. It doesn't arrive in golden letters or a loud voice from the sky. It often shows up quietly like a whisper in your gut, a pull in your chest, a stillness that says, this matters. And when you follow that feeling, when you align your work with your why, you unlock a level of energy that talent can't match. Purpose makes the hard days worth it. Purpose makes sacrifice make sense. Purpose transforms struggle into sacred ground. It doesn't eliminate. Pain, it redeems it. You start to realize everything you're building is not just about money. It's not just about applause or attention. It's about meaning. It's about becoming someone who can look in the mirror and say, I didn't waste what I was given. And when that becomes your reason, quitting becomes impossible. Because purpose plants roots too deep for excuses to rip up. It's not about speed anymore. It's about staying planted when everything is shaking. That's resilience. And you can't fake it. You can't download it. You can only build it. Resilience is born in resistance. It's what happens when pressure hits, but you don't fold. When the progress is slow, but you don't stop. When the applause fades, but the work continues. You want to become powerful? Learn to keep going when it's hard, when it's silent, when the vision feels far and doubt feels close. Because this is the test. And the test never comes when you're ready. It comes when your foundation is being revealed, when your why is being measured, when the person you're becoming is being carved by adversity. Do not fear the hard days. Honor them. They are the fire that forges resilience. And resilience is your superpower. It's what makes you dangerous to delay, unstoppable to doubt, immune to ordinary. But there's another fuel, even deeper, a quiet one that softens the edge while sharpening the soul. Gratitude. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop climbing. It means you're awake as you climb. It means you don't just chase what's next, you cherish what is. It means you look at the chaos, the work, the struggle, and you say, even this is a gift. Because when you're grateful, your energy shifts. You stop carrying pressure and you start carrying perspective. You stop focusing on how far you have to go and you start seeing how far you've already come. You stop needing more to feel whole and you start building from wholeness. Gratitude grounds you. It stabilizes your emotions. It protects you from envy, bitterness, burnout, because it reminds you you don't have to build this life. You get to. You get to wake up. You get to fight for something. You get to grow, stretch, evolve, fail, rise, learn, and become. So don't wait for the goal to feel proud. Be proud now. Be grateful now. Be present now. Because gratitude doesn't slow your progress. It deepens it. It keeps your soul clean while your hands are grinding. It lets you enjoy the climb, not just the summit. And that's the paradox. You become the most powerful, not when you have everything, but when you need nothing. When you're already full and still hungry. When you're grounded and still rising. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you limitless. Then take a breath, because what comes next is not just words. It is a declaration, a line in the sand, a moment of ignition that burns away the past and lights the path forward. You are not here to merely collect achievements. You are here to construct a life, to build something that doesn't just impress but impacts, to forge a character so unshakable that every room you enter shifts because you've done the work. Not just externally, but internally. You've fought battles in silence. You've chosen sacrifice when ease was an option. You've kept your standards high when the world begged you to settle. And now, you don't just want goals. You want greatness. But not the kind stamped on a magazine cover. The kind written in legacy. In the ripple of lives changed. In the quiet knowing that you became the person your younger self would have looked up to. That's the real prize. Not the trophy, not the title, but the transformation. Because the truth is, you will outgrow your goals, but you will never outgrow your character. You will outpace your ambitions, but you will never outrun your integrity. You will upgrade your income, but you will always be measured by who you are when no one's watching. And that is the person you must protect. That is the person you must nurture. That is the person you must choose again and again and again. So let the world chase. Let them compare. Let them post. Let them sprint toward milestones that mean nothing if they lose themselves in the process. But you will do it differently. You will build slow. You will build deep. You will build with fire and foundation, because you know the truth most will never understand. It's not about what you hit. It's about who you become. So rise with intention, walk with clarity, work with discipline, adapt with resilience, move with urgency, and carry gratitude like armor. Let your days speak for you. Let your habits defend your name. Let your presence be proof that evolution is possible. And when the dust settles, when the noise fades, when the applause dies down and the crowd moves on, you'll still be standing. Not because you reached a goal, but because you became unshakable. And that will always matter more. You think you need more time. You think you need more experience. You think you need more clarity, more money, more momentum, more confidence, but you don't. You need the courage to begin anyway. Because the truth that no one tells you is this: the moment you feel least ready is the exact moment your transformation begins. Not when you're prepared, not when you're certain, not when you feel qualified, but when you're uncomfortable, when you're exposed, when your hands are shaking and your mind is screaming, "Who do you think you are?" That's when you move. That's when you start. Because waiting will steal everything from you. Waiting will dress itself up as wisdom, but it's just fear in disguise. Waiting will tell you it's being patient, but it's really just paralysis in a prettier outfit. You say, "I'm not ready." But readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. It's the quiet, steady, unglamorous decision to take the first step, even when the entire staircase is hidden in fog. Everyone you admire, every leader, every success story, every transformation was built on uncertainty. They began when they didn't have it all together. They began when they had no proof it would work. They began when people laughed. They began when they were ignored. But they began because readiness comes through action, not before it. And if you need a sign, this is it. This is the moment where you stop using perfection as your prison. This is the moment where you bury the excuse of someday. This is the moment where you stop waiting for the fear to go away and instead move with the fear in your pocket. Because fear isn't the enemy. Inaction is. Fear sharpens your edge. Fear wakes up your instincts. Fear is a compass. If it terrifies you, chances are it's exactly where you're supposed to go. But you've been tricked, told that fear means stop, told that discomfort means danger, told that readiness is a prerequisite. It's not. Readiness is revealed after you act, never before. So how do you start when you feel unqualified? You begin with mindset, because your thoughts are the architects of your future. And if your mind is built on doubt, your life will be built on delay. You have to take control of the story playing on loop inside your head. Because right now, it's not lack of skill that's stopping you. It's the belief that you're not enough. And belief is not inherited. It is constructed. With every small win, every time you follow through, every time you prove to yourself, "I may not feel ready, but I'm doing it anyway." That's how confidence is born. Not from magic, not from praise, but from personal evidence that you can handle what you once feared. Mindset is your launch pad, but belief is your fuel. Belief that what you desire is already yours if you're willing to meet it with action. Not half effort, not borrowed energy, but real, raw, relentless follow through. You don't become ready by wishing. You become ready by doing when it's hardest. Because every time you move while afraid, you reinforce a new identity. Not the one that waits, not the one that watches, but the one that acts with conviction. You stop calling yourself an imposter and start calling yourself in process. You stop asking for validation and start collecting proof of progress. And that mindset paired with clarity becomes unstoppable. You start saying no to what doesn't align. You start building a life that reflects your values, not your fears. You start moving in direction, not distraction. And once your mind and belief lock in, you don't need someone to save you. You save yourself. You wake up with vision. You show up with purpose. You execute with discipline, even on the days when you're tired, even on the days when you doubt, even on the days when you fail, because you understand the only failure is not starting. Everything else is feedback. Everything else is fuel. And the best part, once you really begin, life meets you halfway. The right people show up. The right doors open. The right opportunities appear, not because you waited for them, but because you became someone who could receive them. So if you feel least ready today, perfect. Now is the time. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you finally feel brave. Now, because the best time to begin is when you feel least ready, and you begin anyway. Because once you truly begin, you stop being a spectator in your own life and start becoming the architect. You stop asking for permission. You stop looking sideways. You stop outsourcing your power to circumstances, to timing, to other people's opinions. You realize finally, it was never about readiness. It was always about willingness. Willingness to look foolish. Willingness to move in uncertainty. Willingness to act without applause. Willingness to show up without knowing exactly how it ends. That's where purpose finds you. Not in the safety of your comfort zone, but in the tension of pursuit. In the moments you're trembling, but still taking one more step. In the decisions you make that feel terrifying, but aligned. Purpose doesn't arrive like lightning. It reveals itself like a sunrise. A little more light each time you honor the call to move, to try, to become. And when purpose clicks into place, you stop working like you used to. You stop chasing dopamine and start chasing depth. You stop performing and start producing from your soul. You stop waking up trying to survive and start living like someone who was meant to matter. Because you are. You're not random. You're not replaceable. You are not a mistake waiting to feel ready. You are a blueprint of potential waiting to be activated through action. And once you realize that, discipline becomes devotion. You no longer wait for motivation. You move without it. You build rhythm. You build structure. You build standards that protect your energy, your time, your focus. Because you finally understand, discipline is how freedom is built. Not luck, not shortcuts, not hustle culture. Discipline, the quiet choices, the hard yes, the even harder no, the decision to do what's aligned over and over and over again, even when no one sees it, especially when no one sees it. And you do it not because it's glamorous, but because it's true. You begin to trust yourself in a way you never have before. And when trust is built internally, nothing external can shake you. Not rejection, not failure, not delay, because your character becomes stronger than your circumstances. That's resilience, not the kind that pretends everything's fine, but the kind that knows, I might bend today, but I won't break. I might fall, but I'll rise faster. I might doubt, but I never retreat. You move forward not because it's easy, but because you've decided there's no version of you worth going back to. You've outgrown the old identity. You've buried the excuses. You've stopped waiting for permission to become who you were born to be. And now you walk with fire, not just belief evidence, not just inspiration discipline, not just ideas results. You don't beg for change anymore. You embody it. And the world responds to people who live that way. It moves for the decisive. It rewards the committed. It follows the ones who begin when it's hardest. because those are the only ones worth following. You don't have to fake confidence anymore. You've earned it. You don't have to explain your vision anymore. You are it. You don't have to wonder if now is the time, because now is always the time, especially when you feel like it's not, especially when you're scared, especially when the voices in your head scream, wait, especially when the future looks bigger than you feel. That's when it matters most. That's where real strength is born. That's where the new you begins. Then this is where everything converges. Every doubt, every delay, every version of you that almost moved, almost started, almost believed, they all fade now because you are not almost anymore. You are becoming. You're stepping out of theory and into truth, out of hesitation and into momentum, out of someday and into right now. This is the beginning, not because the path is clear, but because you've decided to walk anyway. This is the birth of your next level, not because you're qualified, but because you're committed. This is the transformation, the one you've been waiting for, not outside of you, not in the world's timing, but in your choice to begin before you feel ready. Because this was never about being fearless. It was about moving despite the fear. It was never about having the perfect plan. It was about becoming the kind of person who adapts on the way. It was never about being chosen. It was about choosing yourself. And that choice, it changes everything. You start walking like the opportunity has already been assigned. You speak like the outcome is already aligned. You act like the world is already catching up to the decision you made in silence. You build your habits, your rhythm, your voice from the truth that you're no longer waiting to feel worthy. You already are. And now you build not just goals, not just routines. You build a new identity, forged in action, refined in discomfort, rooted in discipline, powered by clarity, driven by unshakable purpose. And when the world sees the shift, when they see you moving different, thinking different, becoming different, they'll ask you what changed. And you'll say, I started when I felt least ready, and I never stopped. Because that's the secret. That's the edge. That's the line that separates those who only think about becoming from those who actually do. You feel unqualified? Good. You feel nervous? Perfect. You feel stretched? That's the sign. Start there. Move from there. Build there. Because readiness is not your permission slip. It's your reward. And it only shows up after you move. So go. Build the life. Make the call. Write the book. Launch the vision. Say yes. Say now. Say, I'm done waiting. Because the best time to begin was never someday. It's now. It's always now. Especially when you feel least ready. And now that you know, you begin anyway. You can trade 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, and still live broke. Still feel stuck. Still feel invisible. Because the market does not pay you for your time. It pays you for your value. And until you understand that, truly understand it, you will keep wondering why the effort isn't enough. You'll keep grinding and waiting, grinding and hoping, grinding and resenting a world that doesn't reward time spent, it rewards value created. Let that sink in. Time is neutral. Everybody gets the same 24. The rich, the poor, the genius, the average, the legend, the forgotten. Same hours, different outcomes. Why? Because time is the canvas. Value is the art. Time is what you start with, but value is what you build. Value is what multiplies, what echoes, what commands compensation, attention, respect, and impact. And here's the hard truth. No one owes you anything just because you showed up. No one is coming to applaud your busyness. No one is impressed by your calendar. The world doesn't pay for how tired you are. It pays for what you deliver. So what are you delivering? What are you becoming in the hours you trade? Because if you don't raise your value, you'll keep fighting for crumbs. Not because you lack time, but because your time is not translated into impact. You see, people confuse time with work, but time doesn't equal effort. And effort doesn't equal effectiveness. It's not about how long you work. It's about what happens as a result of your work. What you shift, what you create, what you solve. And that's where mindset enters. Because if your mind still believes your value is tied to how many hours you log, you will never be free. You will stay enslaved to the illusion of progress. Running hard, earning little. Busy, but broke. Moving, but not multiplying. So you must start with this. Value is internal before it becomes external. It starts inside, in the way you think, the way you speak, the way you solve problems no one else can see. Because the market doesn't reward the loudest. It rewards the most useful, the most resourceful, the most dialed in, the most committed to bringing value that didn't exist before they showed up. That means you have to become valuable on purpose. Not accidentally, not occasionally. Every single day, you must add skill, add insight, add clarity. Because when you become more, you can deliver more. And that is the real formula. Don't ask, how much should I get paid for this hour? Ask, how much value can I build in this hour? How much can I solve in this hour? How can I make myself too useful to ignore? Because usefulness is magnetic, and rare value has no price tag. You don't chase pay, you attract it by becoming someone the world needs. So stop measuring your life in time. Start measuring it in impact. Stop counting the hours. Start making the hours count. Because when you raise your value, everything changes. Your income, your influence, your confidence, your freedom, everything. Because value doesn't rise by chance. It rises by choice. And that choice starts with your mindset. Because a low-value mind cannot produce high-value results. It cannot spot opportunity. It cannot command excellence. It cannot separate noise from signal. Your mindset is the filter through which you see everything. It decides whether you waste your time or multiply it, whether you complain about your circumstances or build something through them. If your mindset is built on limitation, your actions will shrink to match it. If your mindset is built on expansion, your results will stretch far beyond your current conditions. So, ask yourself, have I trained my mind to see value, to extract it, to deliver it? Because the raw material is everywhere. But it's your mind that determines whether you turn it into gold or waste it on excuses. And once your mindset is set to expansion, the next multiplier is learning. Not school, not passive intake. Real, aggressive learning. Intentional skill stacking. Relentless pursuit of understanding. The kind of learning that turns confusion into clarity and clarity into cash. The world doesn't need more information. It needs people who can organize it, simplify it, translate it, and use it. That's where value comes from. Because information is cheap. Insight is rare. Anyone can Google an answer. Very few can build a solution. Very few can see patterns others miss. Very few can think in frameworks, solve in models, and execute with precision. That is what learning gives you. That is what mastery delivers. Not trivia, but transformation. And the deeper you go into mastery, the more valuable you become. Because now you can solve better problems. And the market pays in direct proportion to the size of the problem you can solve. You want to earn more? Solve bigger problems. You want to be in demand? Solve faster. Solve deeper. Solve without drama. And to do that, you need one of the most underrated forms of value, emotional intelligence. Because skill gets you in the room. But how you manage your emotions, that's what keeps you there. That's what leads. That's what persuades. That's what multiplies your ability to influence, align, and deliver. Emotional intelligence is knowing how to be unshakable in chaos, how to manage pressure without projecting it, how to absorb feedback without crumbling, how to move through conflict without destruction. It is the invisible advantage. And the rarest people, the ones who rise fastest and stay there longest, are the ones who know themselves, who can lead others because they've already learned how to lead their own emotions. And once your mindset is strong, your skills are sharp. Your emotional intelligence is rooted. The final layer is systems, because even the most brilliant talent will drown in chaos. Even the most gifted mind will fail under clutter. Systems are what turn effort into outcomes. They're what take the raw potential and scale it. They're how you stop being reactive and start being inevitable. You can't afford to rely on memory or mood or feeling like it. You need rituals, automation, boundaries, rhythms. The higher your value, the tighter your system must be, because your time now matters more. And the only way to protect your value is to structure it. This is the real formula. Mindset sets the ceiling. Learning raises the floor. Skill solves the problem. Emotional intelligence connects it to people. Systems make it scalable. And that is how you become so valuable the market can't ignore you. Because once your value is rooted, scaled, and real, you stop chasing opportunity. You start magnetizing it. And when you reach that level, something shifts. You begin to see value not just as profit, but as purpose. You start realizing every moment you grow, every layer you master, every system you install, it's not just for income. It's for impact. And that realization brings you to gratitude. Not the soft kind, not the nice sounding empty word kind, but the kind of gratitude that grounds your power. That keeps your soul clean as your influence expands. That reminds you, you are not entitled to this moment. You've earned it, yes, but it's also been given, entrusted. And with that trust comes responsibility to keep showing up, to keep growing, to keep serving, to keep building value when no one's watching. Gratitude keeps your ego in check. It reminds you that yesterday's value is not enough for tomorrow's opportunity. That mastery is not a destination. It's a devotion. And in the tension of that gratitude, in the friction between what you've done and what's still possible, you develop resilience, because value will be tested. There will be days when no one claps, when the solution doesn't work, when the effort returns empty. And in those moments, your value isn't measured by applause. It's measured by persistence. It's measured by the fact that you don't stop, that you show up with your tools, your craft, your energy. Anyway, you build when it's hard. You build when it's quiet. You build when the world tells you to wait, because you don't work for comfort. You don't work for attention. You work for legacy. And legacy isn't the fame they give you. It's the value you gave away that outlives you. It's what echoes when the lights are off and your name is no longer trending. Legacy is when people keep getting better because you existed. Legacy is when your systems outlive your schedule, when your words still shape minds after you're gone, when your value becomes a blueprint for someone else's freedom. That is what the market rewards. Not time, not effort, not noise, value. And value is built brick by brick, moment by moment, day by day, in silence, in struggle, in solitude, until one day it speaks so loudly, you don't have to. Because now you've become the type of person who doesn't get paid for time. You get paid for transformation, for clarity, for excellence, for value that moves the world forward. So when they ask you how you did it, how you rose above the noise, how you turned hours into impact, how you went from invisible to invaluable, you won't talk about how long it took. You'll say, I stopped counting the hours, and I started becoming the kind of person worth remembering. The marketplace is not your friend. It is not your enemy. It is not your parent, your therapist, or your cheerleader. The marketplace is a mirror, and it reflects back to you every single day one truth. You will be paid exactly in proportion to the value you bring, not your potential, not your effort, not your passion, value. The world is full of passionate people broke, talented people ignored, hardworking people overlooked. Because effort alone is not currency. Results are. So if you want to rise, if you want to earn more, impact more, own more, you have one job: become more valuable. Not louder, not busier, valuable. Because the marketplace is not emotional. It doesn't care how long you've been trying. It doesn't care how much you want it. It doesn't care what your dream board says. It cares about output. It rewards transformation. It compensates those who solve problems. And that should not depress you. That should liberate you. Because it means your wealth, your freedom, your risate's not locked behind someone else's decision. It's not gated by approval. It's earned by evolution. If you don't like what the market is paying you right now, there's only one answer: become more valuable. So, what is value? It's usefulness. It's precision. It's mastery. It's the ability to make life easier, better, faster, richer for someone else. You want more money? Make someone else more money. You want more trust? Deliver more transformation. You want more leverage? Build a skill that makes you unreplaceable. Because this world doesn't reward noise. It rewards effectiveness. It rewards those who get results, who move the needle, who matter. That doesn't happen by accident. It's built through study, through sweat, through standards. So stop asking for raises. Raise your standards. Stop hoping for recognition. Earn it in the silence of repetition. Stop wondering why others get paid more. Start understanding what they do more, know more, deliver more. Because value is not a gift. It's a decision. You decide to become someone the marketplace cannot ignore. You decide to outgrow your current paycheck. You decide to train when others chill, read when others scroll, build when others binge. And the beautiful thing? No one can stop you. Not your background, not your circumstances, not your age, your resume, or your past. Because the marketplace doesn't care where you started. It only cares what you bring to the table today. So bring excellence, bring precision, bring so much value that people feel it when you walk in the room, that they notice when you're not there, that they know if we lose this person, we lose momentum. That kind of value, it's rare, and rare things are expensive. So stop trying to be everywhere. Be essential somewhere. Own one thing so deeply, so fiercely, that no algorithm can outpace you, no AI can outsmart you, no competition can outlast you. You are not a commodity. You are not a cog. You are not here to blend in. You are here to dominate your space with depth. Because when you go deep, you become rare. And when you become rare, the market has no choice but to reward you. So build, not your image, your impact, not your follower count, your foundation, not your brand first, your value first. Because if your value is deep, the brand will follow. The income will follow. The influence will follow. But if your brand is loud and your value is hollow, you will always be one trend away from irrelevance. So go to work on yourself. Not just your business, your mind. Not just your service, your standards. Not just your goals, your grit. Study your craft like a warrior. Sharpen your skill until it's so refined it cuts through confusion. Learn to listen deeply, solve clearly, and deliver consistently. Because value is not declared, it is demonstrated. And when you demonstrate it over and over again, you earn something no money can buy. Trust. Trust from clients. Trust from audiences. Trust from the market. And once you have trust, the gates of the marketplace swing wide open. Because once the gates open, once trust is established, you're not chasing business anymore. Business chases you. People don't ask what your rate is. They ask when you're available. They don't negotiate price. They fight for your time because they've seen it. They've felt it. The value you bring doesn't just solve a problem. It transcends the problem. It raises the room. It elevates the standard. It moves people. It makes them better, faster, wiser, more profitable, and that is priceless. So, no, the marketplace is not unfair. It is exact. It is precise. It pays exactly what you've earned, not what you hoped for, not what you think you're worth, but what you've proven you can produce. And that production, it doesn't start with talent. It starts with intention, with building, with mastery, with the kind of daily decisions that compound over years until your reputation outpaces your resume. This is where real wealth lives. Not in hype, not in overnight results, in undeniable value, in becoming so good they can't ignore you, forget you, or replace you. You want to rise? Then get serious. Get exceptional. Turn your mornings into missions. Turn your days into disciplines. Turn your results into reasons the world should pay you more. Because every dollar is a signal. Every check is a conversation. Every price is a story the marketplace is telling you about your current level of value. And if you don't like the story, rewrite it. Rebuild it. Reforge it. Do more. Do it better. Do it deeper. Do it until they whisper your name in rooms you haven't entered. Do it until your name becomes shorthand for results. Do it until your value outgrows the rate you charge and forces the world to pay attention. And then keep going. Because the moment you stop growing, the market finds someone else who didn't. Someone hungrier, sharper, more dangerous with their gift. Because that's what you must become. Dangerous, not to people, but to problems, to excuses, to limitations, to the version of you that wanted the reward without building the real substance underneath it. You've already tried shortcuts. You've already tried faking the image. You've already tried waiting for someone to discover you. Now it's time to build something so valuable, the world can't afford to ignore it. So stop asking for attention. Start commanding respect. Stop trying to sell yourself. Start serving so deeply that people sell for you. Because the real wealth is not in the pitch, it's in the proof. Not in how good your brand looks, but in how powerful your solution is. And when your work becomes a weapon of service, when your gift becomes a solution that solves pain, saves time, or creates income, you don't chase income. You become income. You are the product. You are the solution. You are the value. And that is a level nobody can take from you. No economy can destroy it. No follower count can measure it. No algorithm can suppress it. Because it wasn't given to you by trends, it was earned by transformation. So build. Today. Quietly. Fiercely. Deeply. Because the marketplace only pays one thing value. And your job now is to become so valuable, the world has to rewrite the rules when you show up. Then let's bring this home, not with noise, but with conviction. Because the truth has always been simple. The marketplace pays for value, so build it. Not with hype, not with shortcuts, not with ego, with work, with wisdom, with weight. Build it in your mornings when no one is watching. Build it in your habits when comfort begs you to rest. Build it in the books you read, the skills you sharpen, the people you serve. Because you don't become valuable by accident. You become valuable by alignment. When your actions mirror your ambition, when your craft reflects your commitment, when your name becomes a promiseno, just a profile, and when that day comes, when the value you've built screams louder than any marketing ever could, you'll walk differently. You won't beg. You won't chase. You won't shrink. You'll stand. You'll command. You'll deliver, and the world will reward you accordingly. Not because you gamed the system, but because you outgrew it. Because you stopped asking, why aren't they paying me more? And started asking, how do I become so good they have no choice but to level up what they pay? That's the question that changes lives. That's the mindset that builds legacies. That's the energy that rewrites bloodlines. You're not here to be known. You're here to be needed, to become the one who shows up with answers, not just ambition, to become the one who builds when others rest, to become the one whose name gets passed from leader to leader, client to client, generation to generation, not because you're trendy, but because you're transformational. And yes, it will take time. It will cost comfort. It will demand your evolution. But what it gives you is so much more. It gives you power. It gives you peace. It gives you the rare ability to name your price, live on your terms, and walk in your truth. Because when you are valuable, truly, unshakably, undeniably valuable, you don't fear the future. You fund it. You build it. You lead it. You become the source of change. So from this moment forward, let this be your vow: to build value that cannot be ignored, to craft solutions that outlive the trend, to live a life so useful, so skilled, so deeply aligned with service and excellence that the world cannot help but reward you. Build it, sharpen it, protect it, and never again ask what the market will give you. Ask what you are becoming in return for your time on this earth. Because the marketplace pays for value. And value, that's you built brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day, until you become a living, breathing, undeniable asset the world will never forget. Now go build it.